All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first episode. I'm so excited that we are finally doing this. And today is such a monumental day in the crypto and blockchain space here in Kenya. And we're going to dive right into that conversation with my guest. But I'm so excited to be having this conversation. Welcome to SokoChain. SokoChain is a platform whereby we aim to amplify the stories of founders, builders, community leaders within the crypto and blockchain ecosystem. And I'm so honored to be having my guest who is a builder in the ecosystem. He is a senior developer, senior blockchain developer, and uh, a tech lead. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our guest, Mr. Reuben.
Ah. Hello, hello. Hey,
Hey,
introduction.
Reuben.
Nanipaka mafuta. Hi.
Ai, hata sijapaka venye una deserve. Ebu,
Usijali.
wewe jipake. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to be here, Faith.
Uh,
Been a long time coming. I'm so proud of you for how far you're coming with this Soko chain, and I'm privileged and honored to be a member and a host. Sorry, is it a host? A guest
I
in your.
guess.
Uh,
But hey, we can host. We can host together.
hiyo
Anyway,
ni
how have
kuzoea.
you been?
I'm good. I'm good.
Mm,
Uh, I can't complain much with
mm-hmm.
what has been. Just take one step at a time. Kila siku na siku yake. So I can't.
Hiyo ni fiti. So, Ebu,
Mm,
tell me, today we've received very good news, aside
mm,
from other sad news, which is also very unfortunate.
yeah.
We've lost a patriarch, a Pan Africanist. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, we've received very good news within the crypto space. The
Yeah.
vast bill has been signed. Ebu, tell me about it. How has it been on your side as a dev? What do you think this means to the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think this is a very, very huge win. I think we've been looking forward to this since I think 2022, all the way back. It is breathing in a new sense of relief and also AI in the market, even
Yeah,
regardless of how much we got to be wiped out on our trades the past weekend.
yeah,
And the it sounds very, or rather I'd say more of a guilty pleasure because baba akienda alafu crypto ikuje now, for us hatuwezi chagua kwanza, acha tucelebrate ya baba na tufilie ya baba alafu celebrate ya crypto baadaye, because
that's
that is waited, that was the goal in the first place, and this now
mm,
brings a lot of opportunity to what you're going to have in the future in that space. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. It's gonna create innovation, like growth in general, and I can't wait. And I'm sure, yeah, as we're diving kwa hii conversation, we'll jump into what regulation means and what to expect. But let's start.
Mm-hmm.
You are a blockchain developer.
Yeah.
So, it would tell me how will you explain to your grandmother what you do? Because mo- boomers, they don't understand these things. So, if you were to explain to your shosh what you do,
Yeah.
what would you say you do?
One, I think that is one of the things I would keep it simple as much as possible. One of the things that I've learned in explaining something is try as much as communicating with the language that people understand, because blockchain has a lot of jargon, has a lot of complicated words, and I think that is what makes it difficult for people to communicate. So what I would tell my grandmother is, ni kama wanaka IT katege na karehaga besha kuma ruhuho. Now, technically, what I'm saying is I'll just describe myself as a guy from IT because she knows what IT is. But
Mm,
now explaining blockchain, I'll try and say I make money out of nothing. I know
mm,
it would sound ridiculous out of it, but I'll
yeah.
try now from that. from that we'll now have a conversation. What do you mean by you make money out of nothing? So I think I'd start by capturing her intrigue or curiosity and
Mm,
something ridiculous as that, and then now continue and say, technically is, you see how money is printed, and there's a
mm,
government out of it that regulates the flow of supply and demand in the market. So technically, I'm part of the process. I'm part of that team that makes the money, and I'm not the one who is regulating alone.
mm.
It's a team of combined people. But now the
Yep.
supply and demand is what creates the value of this. So technically, I'll tell her, for example, if I'm trying to explain to her BTC,
Mm.
she's Duke, I'll say, not Bitcoin. Bitcoin. To come
How
make
would
sure.
you how would you explain to her what Bitcoin is? Ndo ifikia hiyo place yenye you're telling her
eh,
you're using Bitcoin as an example. What would you explain Bitcoin is to a boomer?
Right. I'd say, what types of currency do you know? So, for example, there's Kenya shillings, the USD, there's euro. So, in that same statement, I'd say there's another coin called uh, Bitcoin, and they'd ask from which country, what that denomination does it mean. So, I'll say it's not exactly tied to one country. It's a
Yeah.
coin created by a guy that we do not know, but global. It's a global coin, meaning anybody can use it. There's no specific entity that controls it, and that money has is created to a value in the market such that there's not going to be much more of it in the world. Meaning it will have now a lot. Now I go into the economics of it will now have a lot of supply because the demand is high, so there's a
Mm,
fluctuation of it. Also, the distribution of it is already set, meaning it is not creating more, it's just using whatever is in the supply and market demand. So I'm not good at explaining what Bitcoin is. Probably it's
mm.
because I'm more of a, than a explainer or a teacher, but from the tech point of view, I think that's what I can try and say.
And
Nikedo ikora eh,
okay, we'll catch you that. We know developers, your minds operate differently. You're not a storyteller or a
yeah. So
marketer, because marketers for us, you just have we have our way with words. But anyway,
yeah.
aside from that, so what's that one thing you'll say
Mhm.
about developers that people usually get it wrong every time?
There's a stereotype. Let's start with the stereotype of
Yeah.
it.
Mm,
So most
we can
people
say
assume
it.
developers are hooded guys,
Mm,
do not see some, they're like vampires or something, and they cannot communicate themselves into buying even a bread in the supermarket. Kama hakuna supermarket, developer ameisha, that's it. However, I
mm,
believe that narrative is around 40% true, 60, or rather 60% true, 40% false. I'm more
mm.
on the false side because for a developer, I'm very talkative and outgoing, if I may put it that way,
Yeah,
uh,
you're talkative.
because I'm more
You're
extroverted.
engaging, which is a good thing. Mm,
But other than that, I would say a dev is just any other person. It's just that now, because you communicate mostly with machines, which has a very predictable outcome,
mm,
we find it much more easier than a being who is very
mm.
unpredictable.
Yeah.
Human being has different characters. So unaweza ongelesha mtu umwambie halo akuangalie ni kama kona chao ama you're wrong, something like that.
Yeah.
And you can greet somebody and you be received warmly and
Yeah.
happily. But now for a dev who's used to interacting with machines, who receives instructions and operate out of that instructions, it becomes very
Mm,
difficult for some of the developers to communicate with the outside world, giving this narrative of, oh, developers don't know how to communicate, or they're very hard they're introverted and stuff like that,
Yeah.
or they're weird.
I feel like right
And
now we are breaking, like it's changing. That narrative is changing. Most developers right now are not the typical nerds that we used to think
mm,
developers were. Like they are not some nerds qua basement too flani doing their coding and their job. Their people nowadays
mhm,
are different. People are outgoing. Yeah, and I think it's also because there are so many communities. You get
mhm.
to interact with like-minded people and you engage with them and you meet each other at
Yeah,
the points where like you guys understand each other. So you eventually you guys just have to people have to open up, which is a very good thing. Now Ebo, tell me, when you're not writing code, because as you've said, most development you guys are communicating to computers. So when you're not writing code, what takes most of your time?
uh, kulima. Ai, mi sitakaa njaa. That is basically me, utanipata kwa shamba most of the time, but I
So
enjoy I
if you're not coding, you're farming.
yeah, I'm farming. I'm more of a hands-on person, to be honest.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
coding is a source of income. Farming is a hobby. Like that, I'm more if I'm those guys who love taking projects that require um hands-on experience. Things like doing a project of farming, and
Mm,
also um it is gaming activities. Like you'll find me in hiking, going to bowling, and all that stuff. Something that will make me move is
mm,
something I enjoy. I'm not saying I was an athlete in a younger
mm,
age, but I was more mi ni wale watu utakuta nimeenda game ya basketball shule, alafu kidogo kidogo nimeingia music, kidogo kidogo nimerudi tena nikacheza volleyball. Hata vitu zingine nilikuwa mfupi kucheza. Yeah, more outdoor activities rather than
mm.
coding. However,
So
I'm
would
still
you,
passionate of coding. Hmm?
yeah,
Sorry?
I'm saying, would you
Oh, I'm
say it's advisable for
yeah.
developers and remote workers, because in most cases you find most developers are working remotely, to have like a side thing that keeps you energized, keeps you motivated. Like it takes you out of the house in most cases, because you'll find, yes, you're a developer, you're working during the day or during the week, but now
Yeah.
your hobby is gaming. So
Yeah.
you hautawahi toka kwa screen, you're glued to the screen when you're working and also when you're not working. Is that something that you would advise, ama like
Ah,
what should people do?
I believe um, man or a human being is very
Mm,
is is re-energized by people. I'm a being in a
yeah,
community. It doesn't
mm,
necessarily mean that you interact with people each and every other moment, but the screen is not the only thing that you can interact with or virtual people by playing games. I mean, going out
yeah,
there, even scientifically advised to have 10 minutes of basking in the sun. That 10
mm,
minute will help you and be, what is it called, healthier in that
yeah,
regard. So I would say
yeah.
it's important to make sure that other than just coding, involve
Mm,
yourself in activities. So,
yeah.
tunasemanga watu wa developers ni ama Audi. Chukua Audi, tembea, enda road trip, patana na watu wengine. I mean, that is also good, in my opinion. It's better than just
That,
playing games.
that's true. Yeah, people say what one encourage you go outside, connect with the earth, inaitwa earthing. Is it to
Kwani
that
wayasi
we,
hawezi
we
itima.
can't niko tu zile za earthing clock it, but anyway we can't relate, na we can't keep up na
Yeah.
Gen Z lingo. But yeah, people are advised to be outside more, at least, to breathe fresh air, interact with people as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
so with that being said, tell us what's the difference, how is it building within the blockchain space as compared to building a Web 2 product? Is it different? Ama, it's the same?
The experience is different. I think Web3 came in with a steep, it came with a steep learning curve because we are progressively moving towards having a more decentralized system. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about it, but decentralized meaning that things like doing smart contracts, you get to the market, realize they're still in demand because people are still making tokens, they're still creating
Yeah.
their own coins,
Yeah.
and language being used is an integration of something else. So it's not like the web whereby you already have some systems that need to be integrated that were already existing, whether it is in the language, some of it, like things like for people who used React, it's from JavaScript, and from JavaScript it was Java. Like it was a progression of language from one source to another. Like
So,
for normally joke about that the way mtu kama anatumia PHP saa hizi, not anyone ako nyuma sana compared na mtu anafanya vitu kama Next.js ama mtu anasoma Python, just for context reason. So that is how Web2 used to progress. But now
so
Web3, when it
Web
comes
2,
to
you'll say
decentralization,
Web
is, as
2.
you've said,
Mm. Yeah, I'm saying, so you'll say
sorry, carry on.
Web 2 is you'll say Web 2 is progressive in terms of the coding languages, where else
Yeah,
Web 3 it's different. Like you're not using, it's not like a progressive thing. If you're using React or
yeah.
Node.js, or sorry, I'm not a developer, so maybe I might be mixing easy machina, but so the difference is in Web3 it's not progressive, Web2 it's progressive.
No, it's a different kind of progressive. I'm not saying it's not progressive because in Web3, for example, if we paint a scenario whereby, like the way we have a wallet, this wallet needs some tokens, and you remember we said uh, these tokens or cryptocurrency are not exactly being governed by one person. It's a decentralized system, ecosystem. So if you find, for
Yeah.
example, a project, when we say a project, meaning like things like Solana is running on a different chain compared to Bitcoin. So for example, if you want to offer services that cuts across or offers Bitcoin and Solana and Ethereum, you would require a Web3 developer to understand the white paper that was already written for this system and
So for
integrate
the
it for
three,
the user who is on.
sorry, Atami, I want to catch up. So you'll want a developer who has interacted with white paper for the three system, for Bitcoin, for Solana, and for Ethereum.
Yeah, you'd want one. It becomes much easier for the
Yeah.
project itself because again, when I say Web2 was progressing in a maybe a linear curve rather than the Web3 space that is has an up and down. I would
Yeah.
say Web3 has a lot of cogs that work together, they join together compared to Web2. So for Facebook, Facebook entity or a Meta. Now let me put it Meta. Meta is an
Yeah.
entity that needed or created in-house services using the existing developers. Maybe they did
Yeah.
it in JavaScript, maybe they did it in Python. But when they want to create a coin called Meta, if there is one, they will
Yeah.
need somebody who understands blockchain system, who transitioned from doing front end and started learning things like smart contracts, things like blockchain on one and all that stuff, so that when
Yeah.
they read the white paper that was used to write BTC or Ethereum or
Yeah.
Solana, they will understand how will they connect it to the front end, where now the user, you and I, will be able to interact in the ways like creating NFTs, buying or
Yeah.
selling this thing, listing it in an exchange, and that in itself is now adds more a Rubik's cube or a Lego set that now connects to form one ecosystem. But again, Web3 also has, don't forget, we have now AI, and as you
Yeah.
pointed out, there's a lot of different kind of developers. who have been talking about.
Talk to us about AI and the developers within that space, and how is it any different from what you're currently doing as a blockchain developer? Is it different?
I'm saying I'm an advocate of using it as a tool, the same we used to use for the developers no Stack Overflow to look for to solve bugs in your code. Nowadays, you can use AI to solve some of the bugs that you used to have in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
However, I still advocate for having the bare minimum or the basics of coding to actually produce application that is good. So I will,
Yeah.
for my instance, use I will advocate for somebody to use AI, because AI is not just limited to using ChatGPT or Gemini to create an application. It's understanding that there's an architecture system of how an built for it to be
Yeah.
secure, for it to work smoothly. And when you use AI, you can first of all limit the time that is needed. One. Secondly, now because AI is very simple, because I mentioned some time back that the advantage of AI is because you can communicate it the same way we are talking, and it will understand what you want to achieve. So I said that
True.
you can create anything, and you can create no matter how complex it is, as long as you give clear instructions, you can create it. But if you have an advantage of the basics of coding, you can say that, for example, in that weather app that you've created, you understand that there are some security risks that might be
Yeah.
overlooked the AI when it is creating an application. So it's up to you using AI, write a prompt that will cover all these basics. Then when it has created a product, using the knowledge that you have in coding, you can do a test, like a QA test, and see how good it is, will it uphold. Then upscale it through also AI tools, and basically it products like, for example, nowadays KYC has been simplified to be done within 5 seconds, and even
So
five.
for okay.
Yeah.
So as we are progressing, we
Mhm.
will also define some of these terms, because when you say KYC out of the blues, someone
Mm,
who does not understand,
mm,
um, someone who doesn't even know what KYC is might not understand what we're
mm.
talking about. So, what would you say KYC is, and why is it important? And also, why is it more so important
Mm.
for products that are being built within uh, blockchain?
All right. First of all, KYC menya modo wako technically know your person, to avoid things like money laundering and scamming of even inside the system itself between users and users,
Yeah.
company company to the users. It's an accountability factor, period. Because in especially KYC is used on the fintech side of things a lot, and even every other system. Not I don't want to just put it on fintech, but basically KYC is used to make sure that the company understands you as a user. It's not just data. There's an actual person behind the information that they're receiving. So
Yeah.
Reuben, who is a third customer at a company called uh, Binance or Gochapaa for this instance, Gochapaa is able to understand and tell the regulators that Reuben is an actual person. This is his information, and he's a registered, probably a registered citizen, because that actually validates that you exist in the database. And the company itself can be able to. It's not for tracking like this, the DCI is, but it's
Yeah.
to tracking the information that it is not a bot. Nowadays, again,
Yeah.
bots are everywhere, and they are in everything. Hata Twitter wamejaa huko. So
Yeah.
KYC,
Both, yeah.
yeah,
Both
KYC
are
just
everywhere nowadays.
mm, yeah. So KYC just helps the company to understand who the user is, and also for the regulators to know that this company is not conducting any illegal activities.
Yeah.
They can be accountable for certain things that might go wrong, or even they can explain. And it is also used for not only for the regulators only, but also to file your system like taxes and all that stuff.
That's really good. And I'll just want to understand and from like a coding perspective, and what would you say you trust more? Would you say you trust your code more or your gut when when building applications? Because it's usually said if it's working, leave it as it is, because sometimes you might look at a code inaka venye inataka, but on the front side of things, it's functioning, it's working the way it was intended. So what would you say? Do you trust your code or your gut?
I trust my gut, and I'm not saying that my skills are bad, but as you mentioned, kama inafanya achana nayo. For example, one of the things that I normally say and joke about is coders ama watu wa kucode, they talk broken English. It's a combination of broken English plus mathematics joining in together to make sense. And what you look at as a user, as an end product, kuna login, kuna sign in, kuna sign up, all those stuff. But what is really behind is you cannot look at it and say, oh, okay, so unless you have the set skills that were required to do the coding itself or learn the code, you cannot look at a code written by somebody and say, oh, I understand this is a login page, or I understand this is a something page. You had to. It's a combination of things. It normally doesn't make sense if you do not feel itself. So I can say you can trust my code to over my gut. My gut is what helps me now to understand using the skills that I have is, in all honesty, or rather what people call experience. For example, you might write a code page, and for some reason, everything is working and the comes white. It normally happens a lot with the front-end developers. So when you run the code, it says it's okay, meaning the code is good. Technically, the machine sees the code as good, but the output that you're receiving is not good. So in that scenario, will you trust the code, or will you trust your gut or the experience that you have and say, okay, this is not the expected outcome, which is technically wrong, but the code sounds good. So maybe you might look at even layering that information, because we normally use a cascading effect. I've simplified that one, but it goes
Please
down.
simplify, because even me, I'm not understanding.
Okay, like for example, in JavaScript, how you write code, it's how it will flow. For example, a layout, vile mnapakanga makeup, hawezi weka mnaitanga mist bila kuweka foundation, si ndio? Hizo vitu money.
You can't use setting spray before you put foundation.
Exactly. There is a set of principles and steps that you guys take. Same thing good. So and that is why I normally say, you normally find these hiring companies put a minimum of 2 years. Najua tu uliza 2 years tunatoa wapi, but a minimum of 2 years is for you to understand the basic of coding as that. Until whatever foundation before the other one, and the reason why you need that is in case you're being tutored or mentored by somebody, it becomes much easier to communicate with each other. Again, it all comes to communication. So yes, code is there. It's used, but you cannot use code specifically to say that mi niko sawa, code yangu je niangusha. Bro, hata kama uko na experience ya 20 years, unaweza andika code ama hata ukifanyishwa interview, unaweza kutetea, because it's not that you do not know, it's how you explain or how you put it might end up messing you up. So umeona hata juzi Facebook walienda kufanya ati live testing kikawaramba. It happens even to the best in the industry. It happens.
But then it happens and it's in every field, not just in coding. Kuna tu your moment yenye it's not that you're not good kwa craft yako, but kuna venye tu nerves and the state of mind, pressure pia inaweza fanya ukose ku deliver. Not that you don't know, but anyway, what would you say is like the proudest bag yenye you've sold and you've turned that bag situation into a future success story?
Bag. That's a good one. Lakini mingi hata tungetumia Motendu ningekuwa nimetajirisha hiyo kampuni. one that I remember vividly because it was
Yeah.
the recent one is we needed to do an overhaul of a landing page, and sometimes that is one of the most simplest jobs when it comes to a landing because it's technically translating what the designer team has created to an actual website. So
Yeah.
yes, there's a running joke that front ends and designers never agree.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
understand why,
Mm.
because designers normally come with these crazy looking animations on our website. And Akwambia Eka hii
Mm.
one of the most challenging part was the resolution in a screen for around 100 inches, kama projector. And
Yeah.
sometimes the designer has given you all the figures, what we call vectors, images, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and when you put it together, kwa
Yeah.
laptop, kwa screen, kwa TV at 75 inches inawaka vizuri, but the
Mm.
moment you set it to a projector,
Yeah.
there's had like a weird spacing on the left side of it, which you needed
Mm.
to understand how to stretch it out. And because you already have the images that are already picture perfect or pixel perfect, meaning if, as much as you stretch it out, it won't have pixelated images. So the
Mm.
bug was actually make sure that the when it goes to 100, it transitions smoothly to a 75, goes to maybe 42, 32, 24. Those are inches of a screen, all the
Yeah.
way back at the smallest font. And
Responsiveness. It's called
exactly,
responsive.
we better man kama huko ajati.
Nimefanya fanya hizi vitu. Baby, there's a time I used to do coding, but then
Yeah.
I was just like, it's not my thing. Wacha ni stick to what.
Mm.
Yeah.
So the bug was I found a simple functionality that would
Yeah.
be applied on a central position across the application that would make sure that for each and every sizes it will be responsive perfectly. And it was such a small code, like 3 lines of code, that needed to make sure it is just a matter of counter checking based on the
Yeah.
screen size. And that was the recent part that I felt good. And now I know moving forward, I hate a new matena because I'm looking forward to working with projects that will give me kazi ya kufanya vitu kaa hizo. Mkitaka kuwekewa design kwa pale itakuwaje zile vitu za CBD za kuweka advert,
Mm.
tutafanya vizuri. Mm.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And I like that Kenya umesema yenye ina tie to working with
Mhm.
developers. I mean, designers. Na nataka tu uniambie from senior developer
Yeah.
and a tech lead, how is it working with different people to build a project, and what are some of the things zenye wewe mwenyewe unaonanga and you will even advise somebody mwenye ana eye to be in a position like yours in the future in terms of working relationship na the developers as well as the designers?
Mhm. What is it called? Communication.
Yeah.
Okay. When you have clear communication between the two teams,
Yeah.
when you have clear communication between the designing team and the front end team, for example, and this is part of what we call the agile methodology when it comes to working together as a team.
Yeah.
There are different methods, agile and the waterfall. So normally in agile, people are told that there's a room for iteration, meaning there's feedback for each and every section, and you move to
Mm.
the next. As for
Yeah.
waterfall, is a little more rigid. So what I normally say in that scenario and what I've experienced is
Mm.
I'm using agile because some people will understand either being a project manager or a developer, but communicating with the design team is much more key as well as communicating to the front end. So my work has been
Yeah.
made easier. I'm able to do that even without so much. Sisumbukangi sana kuongea, as I said, mi nazanga kuongea. But when you have a design team, it's good first of all to understand what you want to create or what they are creating, even
Yeah.
before they reach the front end team. And
Yeah.
it
That's
helps if you have some background. So nitakaa na Faith ambaye ni designer, nimwambie okay, umenicreatea website iko na
mm,
animation poa sana, but kutranslatea ni pale kwa code itakuwa ngumu. Kuna vile unaweza simplify hii process ikaribia hiyo animation, ama tunaweza ifanya alternatively. Now what you're doing there is understanding the use case ama the problem itself. And when you understand the use case, you try now to communicate the expectation itself, because here is where the issue comes in. When you have teams who are not communicating well, when you create animation as a designer and it looks perfect,
yeah.
then you send it back, you send it to the front end team. The front end team pale aliandika kwa CV, I
Mm,
work best under inaitwaje, under strenuous condition. My skills pale
mm,
ni 5+ years, alafu umepewa
yeah.
kiani, unaona surely to convert this into code will be a little bit difficult. So you
Mm,
mwambie hii ninaweza fanya hii na hii na hii. However, I don't mind stretching my skills because maybe I've never attempted maybe to slide it down or move it vertically or something like that. And also
yeah.
for the design team, they need to also understand the front end developers. Hii si
Mm,
kama WordPress, ile drag and drop. So for coding it is actually inputting coordinates kama as a map. So communicating, in all honesty, is just communicating.
yeah.
Very clear.
So key takeaway ni be a good communicator. Communicate what you want done. Communicate if
Mhm.
things are not well done as well.
Yeah.
Communication really plays a huge role in every
Mm.
department yenye mtu ako, whether you're a developer, whether you're a marketer, HR.
Yeah.
Communication is key, to be honest, for efficient working as a group. So let's circle it back to
Mhm.
Web3. Nataka uniambie, if like right now where we are right now in Kenya, even with regulation and um, the adoption yenye we're seeing in Africa when it comes to uh, Web3 products.
Yeah.
So what would you say if Africa if we got it right in Web3, what in your
Mhm.
imagination, what do you think Africa will look like in 5 years in the context of Web3?
You know, we have tutakuwa tumeskyrocket so far because
Yeah,
some of the I think we have interacted and gone to things with some of the great minds that we have, Akina Yvonne and so on and so forth, Akina ICP Hub and
yeah,
Akina Yellow Card, Akina like you have met these people who had already created products, they already had ideas, but one of the things that they were waiting for it to catapult forward is things like the regulation that was passed, meaning now you have a framework or a fence that you can work freely without any
yeah,
qualms and expand your range of abilities. So now, with that out of the way, I don't think even 5 years. I think Kenyans are very good at innovation in all sectors, not just farming and running, but even in Web3 space. What I'm looking forward is we'll have a lot of applications integrated using things like M-Pesa and even the bank system, whereby Mama Mboga, I think Gochapaa has already started this, but Mama Mboga can actually own cryptocurrency,
yeah,
trade, buy and sell, and even now look things like investing.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it's a volatile space, but the opportunities that are coming here, because it's not just about money, to be honest, it has a lot of functionalities. Kuna hii vile inaweza tumika to curb corruption using blockchain system, ama
yeah.
the chain, for
The
example.
blockchain, the
Yeah,
technology itself.
and also you can use that to create not just amount. You saw the NFT boom. You create images, you sell images.
Yeah,
The possibilities are endless, to be honest. So I'm seeing a huge next 2 years. I'm not even here 5. The next 2 years tutakuwa mbali sana, very very far.
that's true. That's true. We right now as we started by saying, regulation builds innovation, and innovation creates growth. And one thing yenye we all know is regulation inakam na the trust aspect in it. And once people trust a technology, they trust a project ama a payment system, the next thing yenye itafanya it's to scale. And like, I'm so excited for what's in store for all of us, and I can't wait. And I just want to know now, with all that being said, if you could build anything right now without limits, what will you build within the Web3 space? What will you build?
Okay. One, I think I have 3 ideas. Let me stick to one. Naona hii system ya elections. Actually, hata tu elections. Unaona hii citizen inastahili kutengenezwa na blockchain kabisa. Because Kenya works. To be honest, Kenya, sorry not to quote it in a bad way, but the reason why we are lagging behind in some of these development things ni hii kitu kidogo tunashindanga tukitoa. But hata ukitoa unangi pali inaenda. Unasikianga mtu alishanunua sijui helicopter, ama sijui nini. But ile barabara alisema atajenga ambayo it is a tenth of whatever he's getting out of the pocket. And it's through. So one of the things I would build without restraint is a functioning maybe, for example, election system and kashamba hapa na pale. We need a system whereby it is clear. There is no shortcuts to it. The second one is building, you see, a cross-border platform that allows everyone to transact in cryptocurrency. That is the boomers, the millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Alpha na hata Gen Delta wale wanazaliwa. And it is a simplified whereby inakuja na different, what is it called, different language model. So I've seen this thing working in AI. People using AI agents, they're able to create things like customer care services that are automated, things like what else, maybe even booking services come as Airbnb using AI for free. But for me, to streamline hii serikali bwana, hii kazi tunapeana pesa mingi na tuoni pali inaenda. Hiyo ndio shida tu.
Yeah, that's true. Blockchain certainly it come to change so many things in our country, but we are in the right direction. Regulation is the first step, and once we start with the payment system, it's working, then other projects will come up. Who knows? Maybe you're the one who will build our who will streamline our e-citizen system and process ya by mashamba and all of that, because to be honest, we really need it. We need it. So as we wind up, it's been 40 minutes in already. Imagine.
Tunaweza ongea haki.
Clearly. Hapa hata tunafaa 2 hours minimum. So let me ask you a fun question. If coding had a soundtrack, what song would play when you finally fix the bug?
When I fix the bug, lakini nilikuwa na kuna ngoma natumianga, it's not even a joke. Let me check on my kidogo tu. Sitaki kugesi, ndio natumianga Spotify. There's this song called by Kanye West called Mercy. That's how I feel
after fixing a bug.
Mercy, and after that, Centuries. There's this song Centuries, that was composed by who, but Centuries is a good song. Ukiwa umemaliza kucode, you feel like I don't know if most of you here guys watch animes, but hey, there's these edits that are on TikTok about animes fight scenes. Is any soundtrack to that is what should be played after you fix a bug. Kabisa.
I'll,
You feel like a god or something.
you'll
Sorry.
send me on the side, then I'll do a cutaway for that part and
Yeah.
post it with soundtrack.
Wow.
Yeah, so what advice would you give your younger self when you are starting to code? Looking back in retrospect, what advice would you give yourself?
Don't get tired to do those what are they called, algorithms, algorithm, no, data structures, algorithms, those things. Like you sometimes don't understand how it is working. Mauchungu zile nimepitia kwa sababu sikupata kupita hiyo exam ya Microsoft au ya Google. Haki bado mi nangoja response hadi wa leo na sijaipata. Ninafikanga pale ka stage ka 5 before upewe signing letter na hakuna kitu inakujanga juu ulianguka tree structure fulani kwa data structures. But yeah, basically I'll tell my younger self, keep on practicing. Practice makes perfect. You don't have to create something new. Just reinvent whatever is doing there. A millionaire vibaya sana.
Yeah, that's a good advice. And it's also advice yenye neza urge also whoever is listening na anaanza pia. Start and don't give up and just be consistent. Well, that has been a good conversation, Reuben. How do you feel?
I've enjoyed it. This is a new fresh approach to podcast. I am loving it. Hakuna stress mingi. Unajua saa zingine lazima ukae kama developer fulani, gangsters points zisishuke. So I've had fun and I've enjoyed.
Nice.
I'm looking
Yeah, definitely. We'll have you back here again. Next time to curate a specific topic, because I feel like coding in crypto, and blockchain, it's very diverse because mention so many things zenye I'm sure somebody mwenye anaanza ama msi mwenye hajaisikia about blockchain or crypto anaweza kuwa lost. We've had smart contract, decentralized. We've had Ethereum, Solana, white paper, all of that. And I know, guys, hatuwezi break down all of them in one episode. So definitely Reuben will be back. You'll tell us when uko available. We can come back and have a conversation. We can choose one blockchain. Hata kama the entire conversation will be on Solana ama on Bitcoin, and just break it down in very simple terms for people to understand. Because I feel like right now we are at a point where whether we like it or not, crypto and blockchain is here with us. It's gonna be in our financial systems, and the best thing we can be able to offer people is understanding and breaking down all these things. And crypto has a lot of jargon, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
We need to break it down in simpler terms, and that's the goal. Yeah, SokoChain. Having relaxed conversations, heavy, breaking down complex topics in ways that everyday person can be able to understand. Non-techies as well can be able to understand. So yeah, it's been a good episode. I'm adding applause because we've finished our first episode, and
hey, congratulations. Congratulations, Soko. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Events and all that stuff.
Amen. And we just can't wait. And I'm so grateful, Reuben, for honoring my invite and coming here and sharing your story. I really like how you've been able to share it. And please people who will be listening share on the comment section, developers mostly what will be the relatable points, because I'm sure those nights when you're fixing that bug or when you're doing certifications, those are Microsoft and Google, and you're not getting responses. I'm sure these are things that we can all relate to. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining this episode. And yeah, for our listeners, thank you so much for being here, for listening, and for engaging. Please don't forget to follow SokoChain on all platforms. We've got more stories, insights, and conversations that make crypto and blockchain feel more human and relatable. So, yeah, without further ado, thank you.